Okay, so last night we looked at the scaffold tool, and I was looking at some of the code for that UI that we saw. The D app is what it would be, the front end to the smart contract. And the most interesting thing here was one of these helper methods, Transactor, in Transactor.js. And basically it uses a very interesting library called Notify.js that lets you send a detailed notification, get custom notifications. And it also uses the traditional, for dApps in Ethereum, which is the Web3 Web3 Ethernet package. And of course it has to import the packages that it needs, and it takes the provider, the gas price, and the ether scan, which I believe is, not sure. Anyway, so the first thing it does is it defines that if the provider is not undefined, then it defines a transaction object. It defines the notify object, which is part of that notify library. Defines the URL that it's going to call. So this is essentially like you're making your RESTful call. And if the TX is essentially waiting, it doesn't do anything, just keeps waiting. Otherwise, it sets up finishes setting up the transaction, and then sends a transaction object. Send transaction is part of that Web3 ETH library, and it takes the transaction object and also takes a callback function, but in this case it's not using that. Waits for the result, and if it's not one of these, I guess they're well-defined chain IDs, then or if it is, then it will go and then it will get the result and it will display the information, the hash. Otherwise, if it's not, let's say it's one of not one of these ones, it'll assume it's a local transaction and just display it. Return the result. And it also has error handling here, and you can see if there is an error with the transaction. So this is an example of a method that would be used in a dApp. Remember, dApp is essentially the front end of the blockchain application, as opposed to the smart contract, which is the back end. So again, if you think of it in terms of traditional web applications, the front end, the dApp is your GUI, and it's written in this case, React.js, which is very commonly used in web apps. And the back end is your smart contracts, which is essentially your services. So if you understand that analogy, it'll make things a lot easier to understand as you move into the smart contract and dApp world. So hopefully this has been helpful. If it has, please give a like and subscribe and ring the bell. And I will see you next time. Take care.